Trevor. I'm joined up here today by Mark, and we will be your cannon crew here at Fort Mackinaw today. Now, the cannon we're going to be firing off here is our Model 1841 6-pound smoothbore field gun. Now, quick, repeat that back to me.
16-bore field gun.
All right. I know it's kind of a big, long name for a cannon here. And the soldiers would actually rarely refer to it by that big, long official title. Instead, they're simply calling this cannon their 6-pounder. Now, I can assure you this cannon does not weigh 6 pounds. Why do you think they're calling it their 6-pounder?
Weight of the ball.
That's right. This cannon here fires a 6-pound cannonball, and it can fire that ball up to the distance of about a mile, all the way out to the shores of Round Island out there. And at that mile-long distance, I can tell you with certainty, the smallest target we're going to be able to hit is Round Island out there. So it's not really an all-too-accurate cannon, and that is because it's a smoothbore cannon. So there's no rifling on the inside of the bore to put any sort of spin on the cannonball. Thus, when the ball leaves the bore, well, it's basically going in whatever direction it feels like. So the more accurate range for this cannon would actually be about to the half-mile, just to the edge of the stone break wall there. And in that range, we could hit a ship-sized target once out of every 3 shots. If, of course, that target wasn't moving. So still not really an all-too-accurate cannon, all said and done. But during the 1880s, it really didn't have to be an accurate cannon. And that is mostly because Fort Mackinaw here is the headquarters to the national park during the 1880s. So the soldiers stationed here, well, they're essentially working as park rangers, and they're not trying to defend the fort from anyone or anything. So the cannons they're using are primarily meant for ceremonial purposes. They're firing what are known as salute shots. Special shots without any cannonballs, just to make some noise in celebration of certain events happening on the island or around the nation. And that'll be the type of shot we'll be firing off here for you today. So with that, I'll just step around the tail spike here, and I'll thumb stall for Mark, who will be working up at the barrel end of the cannon today. Now, the first tool Mark will be using here today is known as the auger, or the gunner's worm. He's going to be running this down to the base of the cannon to try to scrape out any debris that may have been left there from our previous firings. So today we may find some historically inaccurate aluminum foil, but during the 1880s they would have actually been wrapping their charges in a muslin cloth. However, cloth has a tendency to keep burning, and so to prevent any lingering sparks or embers at the base of the cannon, we've switched to aluminum foil just because it cools down that much faster. Now, the next tool Mark will be using is known as the wet swab. Essentially, it's a large dirty sponge at the end of a stick. He'll be running that down the bore of the cannon, and in a battlefield situation, this would help to cool down the bore before your next fire. But it also helps to extinguish any sparks or embers by, one, introducing water to the bore, and by also creating a vacuum. So when Mark pulls this out, you heard that nice thunk there? That's the sound of the vacuum discharging, and that's how we know that our cannon is now safe to load. So with that, Mark will be loading our charge here today. The charge we're going to be using is about 4 ounces of black powder. And unfortunately, this is a rather diminished charge when compared to the salute shots during the 1880s. During the 1880s, they'd actually use about 10 ounces, and to actually fire a cannonball, you need about 20. But those larger charges have been known to rattle windows, knock paintings off of walls, and, well, spook horses. And I'm not sure if you've noticed or not, but we have a lot of horses here on Mackinaw Island, so we do like to keep them happy. All right. Now our next step here is to prime the cannon. So Mark will be taking a brass spike known as a gimlet, and he'll be running that down the touch hole that I was covering in the rear of the cannon there. That will tear a hole in the charge that he's placed there and expose the charge to our ignition device, the friction primer. Now what a friction primer is it is essentially a brass tube filled with very fine gunpowder. And at the top of this tube is a chemical known as fulminated mercury. Now this chemical is extremely friction sensitive, so when this pin is pulled, it will cause it to flare up, it will ignite the very fine gunpowder and send a jet of flame through the touch hole Setting off our cannon salute here for you today. Now, with that being said, this cannon can be a bit loud, so you'll probably want to cover your ears or get your cameras ready, you know, whatever your priorities might be. But with that, there's only 2 commands to fire this cannon. They are ready, fire!